Supposing I was to turn up to a meeting with a client like this, and I asked you for feedback on my appearance, what would you say? The phrases that may come to your mind might be, you look shabby, or you look messy, or you look terrible. Or you might say, you should dress professionally, or you should try your hair. Or you might say, I don't like the way you've done your hair. And actually, only the last of these phrases, I don't like the way you've done your hair, is feedback. In this video lesson, we're going to look at best practice in how to share your thoughts, perspectives, or feedback in a way that is honest and considerate. And we're going to make a distinction between feedback, advice, and judgment because people usually think they're giving feedback, but it's usually advice and judgment, which leads to some sort of a negative reaction. Let's start by looking at advice. Advice is any sentence that starts with you should or you shouldn't. The subliminal message that you convey when you give advice to someone is that you know more than them on the subject being discussed. That's the underlying assumption that leads to you giving advice, that they don't know what they should do and that you do. Advice works perfectly in only one situation. When you do know more than somebody else in a given situation and they agree that you're the expert. So if you're an IT expert and you tell your friend that they should install an antivirus software and not click on certain kinds of attachments on the computer, and they believe in your experience and expertise, they will feel grateful instead of feeling offended. But supposing you start giving advice to a peer in a different division on what they should do in their function, or a subordinate who used to be a peer and who thinks that they should have gotten promoted instead of you, and you say, you should have done this, or you should not have done this, or you're not doing it the right way, then you might get a defensive or aggressive response. So advice is very useful in some situations, but can backfire in others. So let's look at what sharing of feedback is then. Sharing often starts with phrases like, I notice, I see, I think, I feel, I believe. The big difference is the word I instead of the word you. Let me give you an example. Suppose you say to a subordinate, you've been more than half an hour late for the last 3 meetings, even though I've requested you to be on time twice before. So I'm beginning to think that you're not concerned that the rest of the team might be waiting for you. And I'm feeling really frustrated about that. This might seem very direct, even blunt, but it's actually best practice phrasing according to this model. Let's look at the individual sentences to understand why. If you say, you've been late by more than half an hour for the last 3 meetings, and if that is a statement of fact, then it's hard to dispute. The mail said 10 a.m. and they're walking in at 10:30. Everyone can see that. People don't usually get into arguments over facts. So let's look at the next sentence. I'm beginning to think that you're not concerned. Now they can't say, no, that's not what you think, because they are your thoughts. You're the only person who knows what you think. This is a very different statement from saying you are not concerned, because now you're talking about their thoughts and you cannot prove that you are right, and they could say you're wrong.